series of exercises without a larger creative project that allow us to get really good at Illustrator. Now, some of these will seem simple, and there's going to be a lot of little components to turn in, but please don't skip anything. Right? These are the simple things that people go through really quickly, and they're like, oh, yada yada, I understood that. Then they kind of brush over it, and then later on it will always come back to bite you because it'll be confusing, so you won't understand what you've done. So okay, so basically I have a layer here, and I want you guys to do this too. Even if you see me, I'm trying to make my videos a little bit shorter, so if you see me not all the way finishing a composition, you should finish an entire page. And these are things that you should go back to if you ever get lost in Illustrator. It's the core of Illustrator, which is drawing shapes. So if you ever get confused by the pen tool, which you will, then just go back and do these little exercises really quickly, and they will sort of unconfuse you, right? So when I started Illustrator, especially whenever I start an Illustrator project, especially if I'm first learning, I always kind of do these just to warm up. So we are going to, in this exercise, so I've locked the layer. I made just a color layer so I can see what I'm doing. And then what I'm going to do is draw some of these primitives that we've already been working with. All right, so this is going to be a full page of primitives with straight lines and straight points, so they're not curved, right? Here is how you do it. You take direct selection first, and then you grab the pen. And there's many pens, so it has to be the most basic one. Now I'm going to choose a color so I can see it. And the reason we did direct selection first is because whenever I'm using the pen tool, but whenever I press Command, I can go back to direct selection, and that is the most useful tool when using the pen. When you press Option, you can go back to this tool, which is another subtool of the pen, and it's called a point breaker. So just know that when I use the pen, my index finger is always on Command, my middle finger's always on Option, and I never change tools, because if I choose any of these other tools like this, the regular selection and then the pen, when I press Command, I go back to regular selection, and I don't want that. So I go direct selection followed by the pen, I press Command, and that'll set the keyboard tools, right? So make sure, verify that you have a white arrow, and then verify that you have that little upward thing under Option, right? So Command and Option. All right, so anyways, what we're doing here is just you're drawing without pulling, and you should make a little, like a sawtooth shape like this that goes all the way across. And what you have to remember in Illustrator is it doesn't really make sense unless you close the shape, right? So we're trying to get kind of tangled up in this sawtooth shape, go all the way back. Cool. Now, when you're using the pen, like see why it doesn't make sense? It's because you'll still have this connected line until you close it. Closing means going back to the original point. So you always, whatever you do, you always have to close, and you have to plan it kind of mentally. All right, so now here's my point, and here's my original point, and then now I've closed it, right? See, the pen sends me a signal. It has a little asterisk when it's going to start a new one. Now, let's just fill this page with closed shapes of your own design. Make a little bow tie shape. Try to make little things like houses, signposts, stuff like that. And also feel that you have to utterly be in control of it. Okay. I think that some of our computer training is from games, and it's like the faster you click, the more powerful it is. So I always see this in class where it's like, I don't understand, right? There's nothing to do with the computer. You just have to plan out what you're doing and have the idea in your mind. right? So if you were to draw a star, you should be like, okay, this is going to be a point. Then I go down, right? So you have to go slowly, and of course, it always helps to draw it first. Cool. All right, so that's basically it. Um, fill the whole page and make it really complex. As you can see, this only takes a few seconds. And by the way, if you accidentally get a point like this, it's because you clicked and pulled. So I want no curve points. So just practice like just clicking, right? Clicking, let it go. Don't move your mouse. Then move, click, click. Also, get the feeling of making a mistake. If you did something you don't want for whatever reason, just hit Command Z, just like in Photoshop, and notice that you're still in the line, right? So you're still connected to the line. So that's why it's kind of dangerous. You have to have this little mental barrier where you're like, okay, I'm starting a shape. And this is one of those things where the computer often encourages you to multitask, but if you multitask doing this, you will just die, right? So basically, let's say I make a star. So here's an example. I'm working on my star, and then in the middle of making it, I'm like, geez, I don't want a red star. I want to make it blue, right? Now I can actually go over here and change the color, but look what's happening with my line. It's stretching, and then if I'm new to Illustrator, I really don't understand that. And that's when I get confused. So just kind of close down any other like goals you have for your project. You definitely can't check email and then go back to Illustrator. And just be in the levels of this thing are just like, I'm starting a shape and I'm going to work my way around until it's finished. All right, so if you made a point that you didn't like, you can undo. If you didn't like the position of a point, you can hold Command, not Option, and you can change it while you're drawing. But I really recommend that you close the shape first before you start repositioning it, right? So yeah, and this is sort of what we did in the other exercise, changing the points. So just work with that. Changing the, drawing, changing the position, and closing a shape. And seriously, if you're just sitting here and you're doing 100 boxes, this is a skill that is going to make you good at Illustrator. Because when you get distracted and you start multitasking, you'll have this little voice in your mind that says, "Nope, I got to close my shape first." Right? Cool. So that's kind of fluent drawing. It's all geometric, and none of it is curved.